So a little bit about myself. I have a security lab in Ben-Gurion University. We have a lot of cool gear as academic labs go. Bunch of CVEs we have, bug bounties and so on, and we also feel really good about it because we're academics, so that's also a bonus. And we have all sorts of legal protections that you don't have, so there's that. And I did a lot of work with industry. I also actually spent a period of my life in industry, and I think that academia-industry collaboration is good for both sides. So as an academic, you sometimes don't understand what is important to the industry, and you don't understand what happens on the other side of a security disclosure. And as an industry, sometimes you like hearing that everything is okay, and somebody really needs to knock on your door and wake you up. So this combination is really good. I really love teaching, and if you want, there's a free course. There's a QR code, a free course about implementation security and side channel attacks. It has online labs and really nice resource that you got for free right now. And there are other videos of me circulating online, which I do not wish to discuss at the moment. So if you know, you know. Enough about me. So I know I see where we did the audio call. I saw some students. Who here consider themselves builders? Builders? Oh, not a lot of you, but so thank you for giving meaning to our life so we have something to break. So who here are breakers? Oh man. Okay, so I'm going to try to reform some of you breakers and try to help you understand that your skills can actually be used to bring a lot of virtue and good things to the world. And of course, there's a production team, which the world stands on them, so really thank you. So let's start with some motivation. So this is hardwear.io USA, and we are in USA, and we know that there is one thing that Americans really, really love, and that is guns. Oh, no, well, other than guns, they really love the president. No, okay. Well, okay. They really love? They really love cars. Oh, they really love cars. The United States is number 8 in the world in cars per capita. And if you remove New York City, which is always a good idea in all sorts of situations, it goes even higher in the rankings. And cars are a really nice and crunchy and tasty thing to analyze as a security researcher because they are without a doubt an IoT device. Why? Because they have sensors, right? They sense the environment. They have actuators, which means they affect the environment. They move people from one side of the other to the wipers and so on. And they have, what else do we need? Computation. They have computation. And they have connectivity. So a car is an IoT device. And CarSec is a very exciting field. And in fact, Scott, where is Scott? Scott is going to be giving a really, really cool talk tomorrow. You're going to be riding your bike on stage, right, tomorrow morning? No? No? So that's why the smoke machine is back here, right? So Scott is going to give a heavy metal talk tomorrow about breaking into bikes. That's going to be BikeSec, right? But I'm not going to talk about CarSec. There's enough about that. I'm going to talk about something a little more modest, which is also related to this love of Americans with cars. And I'll start with this very short illustration video. So the device I want to talk about is a garage door opener, which you saw in the beginning of this talk. So I'm moving from CarSec to something a little more modest, and I'm going to be calling it GarSec. Like, okay? So a garage door opener, it's a standard feature in most US homes. You might be surprised that not a standard feature in most of the rest of the world, but especially in the western half of the US, All new houses have garage doors, openers, and most houses in general have them. And this is a standard, mundane, jack shaft operated garage door opener circa around 2006. And now the elements here are, first of all, there's actually the jack shaft that opens the garage door and the hinges, and that's harder, but it's a little too harder for me. Let's talk about the things which are relevant for a security researcher. There is, of course, the remote control. There is the wireless link here. And here you have the head unit, which actually gets the command from the remote control and opens the door. And here there is the entry button, the wall-mounted entry button, if you want to open the door and you don't have the remote control on you. Right? So this is not the most ambitious, but this is an IoT device, I'm going to claim. Why? It has sensors, right? There's a sensor. Senses the RF. Has an actuator that opens and closes the door. It has computation, very minimal computation over here. And it has connectivity. Well, this is connectivity. So if it's an IoT device, we can actually do some security assessment of this device. So let's do some GARSEC. And when we do security assessment, we look at the CIA, confidentiality, integrity, and availability. So what is the most straightforward attack on a garage door opener that you can think? It's probably going to be integrity. What is integrity? It means the system actually outputs the output it was supposed to output. And what is an integrity attack on a garage door opener? It is? It's opening the garage door when you're not authorized to enter. You can, when you write your report, you can suggest that you can drive into, right? But there are other ways, might be less fun. You can drive a car. You can also drive a motorcycle if you want. But, so this is integrity, but there are also attacks on availability. How can you challenge the availability of a garage door? Where you gotta disable it or do something so nobody can enter the house or leave the house. And the last thing is confidentiality. Look, I said it. And what is that? Basically, I want to know who is getting in, who is getting out. I want to know who is in the house right now. And I need to sell somehow that I can do it in a way which is enabled by this garage door opener and not enabled by simply sitting outside in the street in a car. But probably there's such a story. Okay, so this is a garage door and it does its thing very well. But what if I want more? What if I want more use for this system? For example, what if I want to hook up my garage door opener to the carbon monoxide detector in my house and to the smoke alarm? If there's a fire, I want the garage door to open. That sounds like something really nice and handy to have around the house. What if I have a friend coming over and I want him to crash in my garage for a few days and decorate it? And I want to have like somebody use the garage door for a few days and I don't have to do the entire process of provisioning. What if I just want to lose a remote control and use my phone instead? So I have one less thing to worry about. So I'm going to show you now a very simple way of a garage door to the future that you can do right now. And this is something I actually saw online. Now I'm going to show you how you can modernize your garage door. And this is using this very nice tool. Warp. Okay, this warp guy, I'm gonna stop warping the audience, right? This is called the fingerbot. And the fingerbot is basically an IoT button pusher. So I'm going to take this fingerbot. I'm going to place it over the manual release button of the garage door and warp when I want to get in. And now I can connect this on the other side to the cloud, whatever. I can do all sorts of nice logic inside. So how do I find a fingerbot? So thankfully, the market for fingerbots is extremely well developed. And there are many vendors, many reputable vendors, such as UNSH and High Mojo, and Moe's. That's actually the second Simpsons reference in this talk. And there are a lot of nice features. This one actually, for example, supports Ziggy, which is probably the more secure version of Zigbee. So I'm going to buy this thing. I'm going to plug it on my, my garage door opener, and now I have all this cool functionality. So this system is obviously more useful now. But is it more secure? What happened to security? Is it more secure, less secure? Okay, let's think about this analytically. All of the old stuff that used to work in the old system with the remote control still works. So analytically, I cannot be doing any better. So the best I can hope for is not worse. And what I'm actually going to get is, well, quite a little yes worse. And the thing is that the market, these fingerbots are actually, this is the end, the operating end of a very complex ecosystem. These vendors actually don't have their own cloud infrastructure. They take this cloud instance and they connect it to one of the mega nameless Chinese IoT cloud operators. The ones in this picture actually use Tuya. If you don't know what Tuya is, then you might have a Tuya device in your house. So this is an IoT provider. So you have to trust Tuya. You have to trust this hardware vendor. You have to trust the security of your home router. You have to trust everybody else. And the risks to CIA are obvious. And this is only when I'm talking about the official interfaces, like network and so on. As hardware people, we know that official interfaces are only part of the story. You also have the unofficial interfaces. So you have the fault attacks, the side channel attacks, I think about it, it's quite easy for somebody to just put a hand into my garage and nix this thing and go away if I'm not noticed. And then from there, you can think of all sorts of stories. If I can read out the flash of this device, what things can I do with it? Right, so this is a little, very tiny, small IoT system, which I just tried to modernize, and you can see the risks of it. But what can this kind of teach us? What can this teach us about the IoT systems we design in 2026, and if we want them to survive for a long time? So the little teachable tidbit I want to give you, this kind of keyword grade slide, a keynote grade slide, is this. I'm going to claim that IoT devices must be secure as long as they are useful. And when we're talking about IoT devices, they're going to be useful for a very, very long time, for generations. And why is it so important for IoT devices and not, for example, for other things? This is because of a special property of IoT devices, which I'm going to be calling the success-popularity mismatch. So here is a very scientific graph, which follows the success and popularity of a regular product. For example, let's say Lebubu over time. So the x-axis here is going to be time, and the y-axis are kind of qualitative assessments of the product's popularity and the success of the company that makes it. So the product is launched, and it's selling well, and as the product is selling well, the company is succeeding and making a lot of money, and now everybody's really, really happy. And eventually, people get tired of this product and start buying something else, and the company similarly stops being profitable and pivots to doing something else. And in the long run, we have none of these products in the field, and nobody actually cares about it. We've all moved on. But in an IoT product, it is quite different. The success and popularity are often out of sync. So let's look at this graph. Similarly, the time and popularity and success. The product starts getting more and more successful. The company is doing well. And there is a nice installed base of people using this product. And then suddenly, some kind of catastrophe happens, and the company vanishes, or it stops being successful. And you've been around. You know what happens. It could be kind of a supply chain disaster. We really want some kind of product that we rely on and it stops existing. Could be legal issues. Could be competition from Apple. Apple sees this product and decides they want to offer it for free, and then we're screwed. Or it could be Google that decide that they want to kill this particular product, which we really need for our thing to work. And technology obsolescence really doesn't matter. Okay, all of these things happen. The company shuts down, but there is still an installed base. People who use this vacuum machine, lawnmower, respirator, air conditioner, refrigerator, and so on in their house. And they're not going anywhere because they want to keep this investment for 10 or 20 years. So what's going on here security-wise? So first of all, when a company shuts down, the servers go down, which is bad. So we can't do all sorts of cool stuff like, I don't know, start our machines from the phone and so on, which is, I mean, it's bad. There's lots of functionality. But after a certain time, the domain becomes available, and somebody takes over the domain. And then, instead of a device that doesn't work, you might end up with a device that does work hard, but not for you. Might be sending out malware, or botnetting, or upvoting political posts, or whatever, getting you into trouble. But even if the system somehow survives, even if a bunch of dedicated people start up a crowdsourced server which is going to run this community-powered long tail of products for a long while. I know there was a bunch of people who bought the first electric car, the Renault Fluence EV. It was very bad idea business-wise. It was really great idea to have an electric car, but the technology wasn't ready. So the company that was actually maintaining them shut down. And now we have a bunch of people with electric cars which you cannot charge. So they actually fixed it in the community, and they kept on going for a couple of years. But the problem is that as we are moving to the future, the software attacks keep getting better. The hardware attacks keep getting better. And another thing I want to claim is that as time passes, the human element is going to make these devices less and yet less secure. So every time somebody tampers with the protection setting and changes something to the default values, or erases something, or blanks out something, or enables something, so the average security posture of this device is going to get worse as time passes. And that is bad. So there's a damage to security, and there's also a damage to sustainability. Eventually, you're going to end up with a very expensive brick. You're going to have to throw it away and buy a new device, even though, for example, the actual physical part of it was perfectly fine, but the IoT part was broken. So this is a problem. And I think I want to inspire you, and I think the people here who do hardware security are the best equipped to fix this and solve this to the future, right? I think that we can make future-proof hardware. I think it's our problem to fix. And why? Because I think hardware hackers have a very special mindset, especially breakers, and that they take nothing for granted. We don't believe the specs, and we don't follow the rules, and we avoid the warranty, and we really assert our ownership over the devices that we own. Hopefully we own them legally, but we really have the ability and the skill to control them, and also the responsibility to teach and educate about it. So we are going to fix it. I'm going to explain how I think it should be fixed, and maybe you can also give some suggestions in the end of the talk. So 3 things I want to suggest as ways of making IoT devices more future-proof. The first one is save your actuators. The second one is to enable local network control, but do it right. And the last one is document as much as we can for better or for worse. And I'll explain each point briefly. The first one is saving our actuators. Now, this is an illustration of a hypothetical IoT device. It's a connected shaver. And you can't buy it. If there's demand, I'll start making them, but you can't buy it. And it's a general characteristic of an IoT device that it has a combination of very, very useful features, which are illustrated here on the top left, and completely useless gimmicky crap, which is illustrated on the bottom right. And if you think I'm joking, you are welcome to download the Philips Groom Tribe app and see that I'm not joking. It has everything except the gay dating, I think. Maybe I need to unlock it, but everything else. You have competitive shaving on the app. So, would I lie to you? Right. So, in general, when you are building a device, I know that you need to make money, and these things sell. But you also have to think about the future, have to think about sustainability. So, as a point of design, isolate I'm going to use more polite words, isolate the future-proof parts from the ephemeral parts. And that means that in the future, you can take this device and you can modernize it. While you can still keep the sensors and actuators. So this is an example schematic which I created. I had to have some trolling. If you don't see the trolling, then you should go to one of the workshops. And this is a general idea of a machine which has like an IC which is controlling the motors and sensors, and another IC which is doing the cloud AI gimmicky crap. And I put this kind of jumper blocks between them. And the idea is that once sufficient time passes, we are going to pick up, isolate the gimmicky stuff and not use it anymore. But we will still be able to use the real useful future-proof parts. Now, this is actually what I showed here is a breaker skill. What I'm doing here is basically telling you, take your device and expose a GPIO, or expose the JTAG, or expose an interface, or get into the debugging console and use it to send commands. So this is a breaker skill, but I'm actually thinking how to use it to build something. So when you're making your hardware, you can do it subversively or officially. Try to split the functionality between the things that will survive you and the things which will not. Now, I'm leaving an open point here is, OK, I have an I2C line which does all the important stuff of the device. How does that get me into future-proofing? So now I have a debt to you. I will show you in a couple of slides a really, really nice open source way of doing it. So this is the first point. Second thing is enable local network control. So Wi-Fi is very cheap and ubiquitous. It costs under a cent to add Wi-Fi to a device using a very cheap chip. And many IoT devices that I've been analyzing in my lab started allowing local network control, which basically means you put something smart in your house, some kind of home control or software, and then without consulting the central cloud, which has all the risks that I raised, you can send all these commands, you can interrogate, you can do your own AI or whatever you want to do locally. And that's great. That really fixes the future-proofing problem without any soldering. But the question is, how do we get local access? How do I get local access to the device? And I've been analyzing devices, and I saw these three general classes. So the first class of device are devices which offer unrestricted local access, which basically means if you know the IP address of this device, you can control it, you can read out its sensors, and you can interact with the environment using its actuators. Now, the problem here is the assumption on the threat model. If all you need is local access, it means that all of the devices on your network can control this IoT device, which is irresponsible because a lot of devices by Moz and UNSH and what have you are joining your network, right? So, by the way, having an obfuscated password counts as unrestricted local access because of you guys, right? You read it out once, you post it online, and fine. So I've seen a brand of botvac which has passwords, and the password is basically a well-known function which is calculated on the MAC address of the botvac, or the serial number. So that doesn't count. For me, that's unrestricted local access with extra steps. The next thing is local access, but you need to enable it. So I've seen this on solar power microinverters. Basically, to enable local access, you need to present yourself physically to the device. You need to stand next to it with Bluetooth on your phone, and you need to authenticate against the cloud. And then you get some kind of activation code which switches the device into local access. Sometimes it also switches off the cloud, depends on the vendor. And then you can control the device locally. So you get the user's consent. And when you get the consent, it's basically you can warn the user about the risks of doing this. And then the user might apply some kind of network level isolation, such as VLANs. And who am I kidding? Right? Nobody's going to do that. They're just going to say next, 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 next. Yes, 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 yes. I agree. Yeah. I was just thinking of, if Uber would offer you a rebate on your, this is car sick, on every ride, if you agree that if you were to die in a car accident, then Uber would get your organs. Would you agree, like for a $5 off? The driver would still try to drive as carefully as possible, but if the unexpected happens, I'm trademarking this idea. Just came to my mind as I was driving here yesterday. Anyway, where was I? Okay, so the last way of exposing local control, I've only seen one device do it, but I think it's really, really good. This is called role-bound access tokens. And the idea is, I want to allow access to my device. I'm going to allow access to a particular host for a particular purpose and for a limited amount of time. And I'm going to be binding this using hardware binding mechanisms to the host, to the device, and as much as I can, which basically means, if I do it well, even if somebody reads out the RAM of a running device and creates a clone of this device, the token will not work. And there are all sorts of experimental ways. If you know what physically unclonable functions are, that's a really cool way of using them to bind the access token. But even if I just use the MAC address, that's giving me so much. It's making software attacks impossible. So this basically means if you do this, the only way to exploit this connection is to take over your host computer. And basically, there are other things you can do if you take over the host computer. Right. So this is the third thing, the next thing I offered. And the last thing I want to suggest is to document as much as you can. Right. So, and this is my kind of AI slide. So basically, whatever you can expose about your hardware design, even if it's incomplete, even if it's partial, do it. You want to send out documents, you want to give out code listings, open sourcing whatever parts of your design you can open source, binaries, firmware updates, anything you can produce is good. And now what we need to think now is we're not documenting for humans anymore. We're documenting for AI. And AI is getting what's called multimodal abilities. AIs are now able to analyze PDFs. They can analyze schematics. And for enough budget, they can also analyze video. And when you produce these artifacts, you will allow people who look at this hardware in the future to understand what it does and then to think about what they can do with it next. Now, who is the best in the world in producing bad documentation? Hackers, right? We have blog posts upon blog posts of bad documentation. So just keep on doing it. Again, this is a breaker skill. Just keep on what you're doing, but now you can feel really good about it. And this is all the AI I have in my presentation. In fact, Jasper and Raj have so much AI in the next slide over, so I feel that it's okay to skimp on it. Right. So these are the three things that I suggest to do. But I want to give you something practical and not just inspiration. And I want to ask if anybody knows what this is. Just raise your hand if you've seen this icon before. Wow. Wow, OK. This is another thing. It's the USA thing. OK, so what is this? This is ESP Home. Ringing a bell? All right. OK. So I'm feeling really good because you don't know anything about that. Anybody who knows what Home Assistant is? OK, you're doing great. OK. Anybody has Home Assistant running in their house right now? Great. Right? This is the ultimate tool for, it's an open source product, which I think is an incredible success. It's a home management software which connects all the things. It has very good local abilities. It runs in the VM very well. You can also pay for cloud access. And it integrates very, very well with power meters. That's for hash. So I can, as a dad, I can really feel fulfilled. I'm in a conference in the US, and I can call home and tell my kids that they're running the air conditioner too cold. So I have all sorts of dashboards all day. I'm like, I can SSH into my house and see how the power consumption is doing. So Home Assistant has what's called integrations. Integrations are basically companies either by their own will or some friendly community project expose the API of how to control what are the sensors, what are the actuators, and then it's connected to Home Assistant. Home Assistant works very, very well with AI. So you can ask about your home in spoken language. You can give commands to your home. And it's all done pretty well in terms of security. And what's nice is that if something is wrong with the security, this is an open source project. So we have the agency to make it more secure instead of just saying, oh, man, I hope the password in the next version of my botvac is more than 4 characters. So that's Home Assistant. What is ESP Home? ESP Home is, in its most, the smallest detail, it's a very nice firmware which runs on the ESP32 embedded microcontroller, which does, it integrates very, very well with Home Assistant. So basically, you buy the cheapest ESP32 board you can find online. It's, I think, $3 including shipping. And you can connect the GPIOs to whatever you want. And it works with Home Assistant. There's over-the-air upgrades, so it's very easy to maintain. There's security, which is pretty good. Can it be better? Yes. I'm putting together a team. If you want to make it better, talk to me. But it's pretty good as it is. And AIs really love it as well. So I want to talk about ESP Home in particular, and let's say 3 things which recently made it into the main branch of ESP Home. One of them is infrared remoting. So basically, you put in an infrared LED to one of the GPIOs of the ESP32, and basically, you can control any device which has an RF, an infrared controller, air conditioners, whatever. And again, you can do this remotely and locally and collect statistics and anomaly detection, and everything is under your control. The second integration, which I think is even cooler, is RF. So you connect a CC1011, 1011 or 1101? 11. Sorry, yeah. Off by 8, right. You connect the CC1101 to the ESP32, and basically anything which runs in the 400 megahertz, 300 megahertz frequency range, and has security which is weak enough to be brute force, you can control with this thing. So basically, you can connect this RF chip to your garage if you feel like it. You can connect it to your transport card. You can do all sorts of whatever hacky, crazy things you want to do with RF, you can do it. And the third thing, at least it sounds more modest, but the implications of it are significant, are serial proxying. So basically, you connect your ESP32 to a serial line, and then you basically have connected it to the cloud. And you've done it your way. You can control it, you can understand it, and you can operate it. So I think this is a really fantastic way to make these things sustainable. And again, you take this very nice breaker skill of opening up a device and getting to serial, and you do something beneficial to the world with it, which I think is nice. So to kind of conclude, the devices we produce now will probably survive in 20 years from now, just like the garage door openers of the 2000s are with us. This is an AI imagining of the world of 2046 with climate change, right? So, yeah, and this is the garage door. The garage door has now gained sentience, and it's judging us on how we don't mow the lawn because there's no grass anymore, right? So we need to make the devices we build survive, and you need to make them future-proof. And the ways I suggested, again, when you're building a device, try to isolate the future-proof part from the ephemeral parts. When you're a breaker and you're breaking a device, try to think one step ahead from the pwn. What kind of good things can you do with this ability you have achieved? And I think the most trivial thing to do is try to connect it to ESP Home, to Home Assistant, and let the community take over from there. And we should also continue producing bad documentation, as we do, and contribute to open source projects, and educate, advocate, tell people about these things, to be safe and not to throw stuff away. And the production team should stay awesome. And this is all I had for you, so thank you for coming.